He might be the only NBA player with no haters, even amidst a nomadic professional career, inspiring millions nonetheless. Men don't shed tears easily, only when heartache strikes. Memories, like broken strings, can't play the melody of the past. Just like the spirited boy once, now left with a broken body. Championship dreams might be buried deep. Every passing moment is to be treasured. When will the weather-beaten rose bloom? I'm Xiao Ming. Welcome to the Derrick Rose documentary. Everyone's favorite. 1988. Michael Jordan scored the scoring king, regular season MVP, and the best defensive player of the year. Led the Chicago Bulls to defeat the Cavaliers in the first round of playoffs. Although defeated by the bad boy Pistons in the Eastern semifinals, he has become Chicago's superhero. Rose was born in the same year in Englewood, where gunshots occur almost every day. The darkest, most violent neighborhood, producing the most moving Windy City Rose. Young Rose saw the world's darkness, even considered joining gangs to support his mother. Luckily, under the protection of his 3 elder brothers, he was shielded from danger. As Jordan took the reins from Magic, his dream also shifted from becoming a gang leader to joining the Bulls to becoming an NBA player. On the courts of Murray Park, Rose quickly showcased his talent. The bouncing basketball brought him the right path in life. Upon entering high school, Rose's strength crushed all his peers, helping his alma mater win state championships twice in a row. With an unbelievable avenue score of 25.2, with 9.1 rebounds and 8.8 assists, 3.4 steals, he was selected for the All-American High School first team. The last player in Chicago to cause such a stir was called Isaiah Thomas. People on the street nicknamed him the Smiling Assassin. Upon entering the University of Memphis, Coach Calipari saw, at first glance, Rose's aggressive defense and offense. To unleash his potential, he repeatedly told Rose, "You're still far from your goal." Rose didn't understand at the time what the specific goal being mentioned by the coach was, so he just spent days and nights training, working hard to improve his skills, finally leading the team to an impressive record of 33 wins and 1 loss. It was then that Rose realized that his goal was not just to make it to the NBA, but to become the best basketball player in the world. 2008 NBA Draft. Perhaps it was fate. The Chicago Bulls were lucky to, with only 1.7% probability, win the lottery. It had been a whole 10 years since the Bulls won their 6th championship title. In these 10 years, the Bulls only got into the playoffs 3 times, ranked last 4 times. The best result was the Eastern semifinals. Rose's emergence brought hope for Chicago's revival, but after the team management learned about his brother's gang background, they called Rose and told him, "We really want to pick you, but you have to cut ties with your brother." After learning about this news, Rose was straightforward. "If you can't accept my family, then don't choose me." Then he angrily hung up the phone. Later, he learned from his brother that Rose cried to his heart's content after hanging up the phone, and he almost wanted to die at that time. It was the seemingly tough younger brother who comforted him. Regardless how much Rose wanted to join the Bulls, no reason was good enough for him to choose to abandon his family. Apart from Rose, Michael Beasley was also a hot contender for the lottery draft. During high school, he even knocked Durant down on the floor. In his first season, he scored an impressive 26.2 points and 12.4 rebounds. Add to that, the Bulls' backcourt already holds Saliki and Ben Gordon, so Beasley may be the best choice. But soon after Rose hung up, Bulls GM received a phone call from Rose's brother. "If my relationship affects my younger brother, I can sever ties with my past." Ultimately, the Bulls were moved by this sincere brotherly love. They signed Rose with their first overall pick. A legendary story thus begins. In 08 to 09 season, the Bulls superstar, with his brutal break without slowing down, ignited the passion of entire Chicago. Reminiscent of the Jordan era, angry Bulls with bloodied horns caused havoc in the league, until all the strong bowed down to them. In his first playoff game, Rose scored 36 points and 11 assists recklessly. That night, the basketball god wore the number 1 jersey and defeated the defending champion Celtics. Although after 7 days of intense competition, the Bulls still lost 3-4, but the people of Chicago have seen the first light of the dynasty's revival. Even without a height of 6 feet 6 inches, a healthy Rose is a nightmare for all defenders. When he rushes into the restricted area with unstoppable momentum, you need to be prepared to make headlines with backboard this way. Tomorrow's news headlines. Westbrook, known for his physical explosiveness in the future, in his early years was only Little Rose. In 09 to 10 season, Rose became the first All-Star player for the Bulls since Michael Jordan, and won the monthly best once. But, just like the bad boys against the basketball god, the Windy City Rose wants to really stand out. In addition to the Celtics' Big Three, there is the mountain of LeBron James. On April 17, 2010, the two met for the first time in the playoff stage. That night, James scored 24 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists. The sophomore Rose boasted 28 points, 7 rebounds, and 10 assists. Although the Cavaliers only used 5 games, the Bulls were eliminated. But in Rose, people saw once again a desire to win that is sick like Jordan's. After the game, when reporters asked him about his third season, "Any expectations?" he said bluntly, "Someone has to be first, why can't it be mine?" This rhetorical question successfully ignited the passion of Chicago. The last time the fans were so crazy was 12 years ago. The tyrant bearing the number 23 made good on every promise he made. And now, 22-year-old Rose is doing the same. During the 2010-11 season, Rose's heroic individualism toppled the league with a record of 62 wins and 20 losses for the Bulls, winning him the MVP trophy quite deservedly. Aside from his diligence and hard work, his success also correlated strongly with the new coach, Tom Thibodeau. As the chief defensive coach for the old Celtics, Thibodeau built for the Bulls an ironclad defensive system, which was a vital factor in their successful season. But in the fiercely competitive playoffs, Rose, acting as the only offensive point in the team, had to face challenges, quite like Iverson's in 01. In the first round against the defensively strong Pacers, Rose, with a performance of 39 points, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists, set the tone for the series, then used just 5 games to advance to the Eastern semifinals. Following which, he trumped the Atlanta Hawks 4-2. The Bulls returned to the Eastern Finals after 13 years. But what awaited him there were the Pink Three Giants, far more terrifying than the Celtics. In the first game of the series, Bosh scored 30 points and 9 rebounds. But James and Wade were both limited. Surprisingly, the Bulls washed the Heat by 21 points. However, they quickly adjusted themselves. Pinning down Rose, they won the next 4 games in a row. After James blocked his three-pointer in the 5th game, tears of frustration rolled down Rose's cheeks. Yet, the people of Chicago were still hopeful about the future. Just like when Jordan took 4 years to break through the iron tub formation of Detroit, the iron hoof of the Bulls became a terror to the entire league. During 2011's offseason, the Bulls used 30% of the team's salary to renew Rose's contract. Because of the Rose clause, he got $11 million more in salary than other players. But compared to money, Rose had a higher target in his mind. That was to hoist the 7th championship flag for Chicago in the summer of 2012. In fact, before the start of the 2012 playoffs, Chicago had already prepared to reclaim the championship. However, when the well-equipped Bulls were about to launch, Rose fell in the first game of the playoffs. Severe pain made his body shudder involuntarily, stirring the hearts of all Chicago fans. He prematurely ended what should have been a soaring season. Due to a lengthy recovery period, he missed the entire 2012-13 season. No one knew during this dark time what kind of psychological torture Rose went through. Apart from the dull and tasteless recovery training, he also had to face doubt that he would never return to his best. For Rose, who was about to peak in his career, he yearned to return to the court more than anyone else. But the recovery process was far beyond his imagination. As time went on, people gradually began to lose patience, because his 5-year contract worth $94 million would become a poison pill for Chicago. On November 1, 2013, in the last 5.2 seconds of the game against the Knicks, he scored the 18th point with a hook shot and helped the Bulls win the season's first victory with a score of 82-81. But just after 10 games, his season was reimbursed due to a torn meniscus in his right knee. Just getting out of the gloom, he fell back into the abyss, making people believe he will never come back. At the same time, a shooting guard with the same expression pack as Jordan gradually earned his worth. On April 22, 2014, Butler played 53 minutes in the playoff against the Wizards. At this point, he had played full games in the playoffs 6 times. And from then on, his charm began to spread. In the following 2 seasons, Rose was still playing stop and go. After his second contract ended, he was packed up by the management team and sent to the Knicks. When Rose learned this news, he collapsed on the spot. Desperate tears welled up in his eyes. 1 minute ago, he was still thinking about the future in the interview. He couldn't have imagined that, in the blink of an eye, she had become a pawn. The Windy City Rose wilted, leaving only helplessness and loneliness. After leaving Chicago, Rose started to grow dreadlocks. When he rushed back to Chicago in a Knicks jersey and scored with his signature lever in the game, tens of thousands of Bulls fans on the scene shouted out the long-lost MVP in unison. It's just that flowers can bloom again, and people can't be young again. On April 3, 2017. Rose got reimbursement for the season due to a torn meniscus in his left knee. This was the fourth major knee injury in his career. 3 months later, he joined the Cleveland Cavaliers with a veteran's minimum salary. He did not hesitate to bow to his old rival, just for the sake of that damn championship dream. Although the heavens blessed him with extraordinary talent, they gave him the most bumpy life. After playing 16 games for the Cavaliers, Rose was again injured. Life was like a ruthless sword piercing his soul, pushing this angry warrior into the abyss. This time, Rose thought about retirement. Seeing James leading the forcibly disbanded Cavaliers, going to the final stage alone, and he could only hide in the dark and linger on. But in despair, there is still a glimmer of hope. When old mentor Thibodeau extended the olive branch again, Rose, who was battered, lowered his noble head. With his love for basketball, he came to cold Minnesota, continued to exert his residual heat as the sixth man. At that moment, he might already have given up on the championship. People also accept the Windy City Rose, slowly withering in the snow and ice. But on the night of October 31st, 2018, at the critical moment of the duel between the Timberwolves and the Jazz, Thibodeau's cries suddenly echoed in the sky. Give the ball to Rose. Let him win back what belongs to him. So the soul of 22-year-old Rose was reborn, charging towards the Jazz's penalty area with his 30-year-old body, cutting down a new high of 50 points in his career. The rain was heavy that night. The fragrance of roses filled the whole of Minnesota.
50 points. What does it mean to you, Derrick?
Everything, man. I worked my ass off, bro.